you compile the ES6? And what are the methods you are using to compile ES6?
So we are using Webpack, where we set Babel, which that library takes care of converting ES6 code to native JavaScript that browser can understand.
Okay, great. And with ES6, right? So,
Sorry,
yeah. With ES6, right? So, what is the advantage which gives over the legacy JavaScript?
okay. Yeah, it simplifies some syntax, and it added more features like spread operator, some of the array functions. So it makes life easier to achieve complex operations like popping object or merging two objects, or maybe search in an array or filter an array. So you can say manipulation in with data. It gives more capabilities to JavaScript.
Okay. When you say about manipulating the data, so in what perspective you are saying and ES6 is it?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Like you said, like manipulating the data with ES6, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
can you name some methods or like objects which can help you with data manipulating in JavaScript ES6?
Yes. So array.find, array.map, array.reduce. These are the functions, and the spread operator is a widely used feature of ES6. Then deconstruction. Yeah, that's all I can remember right now.
Okay. Let's say like a project. It's a simple portfolio project, and what is the library or framework you will suggest me to go in JavaScript?
Okay. Simple portfolio project. It's been all static pages.
Yeah, let's assume it's a static page. Yeah.
Okay. And we want to develop it in JavaScript.
Okay.
So
But it also contains some pages, like let's say like it has a page about home page. It also has a page like a contact and projects. Like it's a 4 pages. So
okay. Yeah, we can go ahead with Bootstrap or Material UI with React. And if we need
why?
Okay. Yeah, with Material UI we get many React components which are ready-made. So development can be done much easier or much quicker. There might be some other like components or libraries as well, but right now I can see React.
Okay. And how about the state management?
I didn't get you. What?
For the state management.
State, yeah. Here using Redux with some middlewares like Redux.
Okay, fine. That's great. And in React, are you using the latest version of React or
yeah, we are
which version of React?
we are using 16.7, but we are not started using React hooks on larger scale. They still have class components, much of class components, and some of the HOCs or functional components. But still, we are using traditional connect method to connect to Redux.
Okay. Okay. It's the same question. So I've told you about the portfolio website, right? I need a portfolio website, which will have a home page, and it will have a about me page, and it will also have a projects page, and it will have a contact us page.
Okay.
Can you break down the structure and with the component details? How many components you can have? How many components can be here by shared components where it can be shared in multiple pages or as such, those kind of thing? Can you break it up for a portfolio? Just think about your portfolio website.
Yeah, sure.
Having a portfolio pages with React.
Yeah. Okay. So to start with, there will be one component that will hold header, footer, and content area. So that's main container component, we can say. Then there will be header. Then there will be main page content. And then there will be footer. So in header, we'll have navigation component, which will have all links and routes. Yes, and then so that's it. And subsequent pages like home, about us, they can have their own components directly. So the main skeleton will be these much components.
Okay. And let's say this application you build and you deploy it to the server, and now there's a complaint about the performance. And so how do you go about on the analyzing and the debugging part of the performance issue?
Then I can check if any API calls are taking time, or is there any. Basically, I'll check console to if there are any errors that are blocking rendering of other components. And I can use some smart tools like React Profiler that comes with Google Chrome extension to just get an view on how the application is behaving on that criteria.
Are you using dev tools, React dev tools?
Yes.
Okay. And example of Amazon or the Flipkart application. So when you go to their product pages, right? So you will have the products are largely displayed with images, and it's also have a capability of seamless scrolling. And so given that, for example, in your e-learning application, you have to display videos. So but the thumbnail is always going to be images, right? You need to let's say you are going to display 1,000 video in the same page. So how are you going to implement that? And what will be the recurrency you will make sure that the performance will be at best?
So there's two aspects. From front end, we can implement lazy loading. So when user scrolls, then only components will get rendered. So though we get 1,000 items from API, we're not going to render. We'll render 10 out of them, and we'll render 10 images, and the rest of images will be rendered as a data any image attribute or something. And then once on scroll, we'll convert it to image. So that they will be assigned to component, but they won't get rendered as an image. So it will be kind of lazy loading. So that will save a little time. And from server side and from other thing, we can achieve the using an AWS S3 with some CloudFront or some other CDN. So for first request, there will be some time, but subsequent requests will be cached, and we'll get a user can experience more faster page load.
Okay. So you use Redux for data management, right? So what is the benefit of using a Redux?
So with the Redux, we follow certain rules that comes with Redux to update state and to access the state. So with that, there are less chances that we will end up with some side effects that we come with the state updates. So it will be always follow certain path when you are going to update the state. So that minimizes the unwanted impact on data, or what we can say unintentional changes that's going to happen to data. Because as JavaScript objects are like you change at one place, it can affect several places. So in that regards, Redux gives a secure or more concrete way to update whatever JavaScript objects are in our whole application state. Right, so it will update the only part that we are intended to update.
Okay. So what is the use case for picking up the Redux as a data management? So you cannot have Redux in all the applications. So
yes.
What will be the criteria so when you decide you need Redux in this project, whatever criteria you will follow?
Yeah. So main criteria is when there is a data in an application which is going to be shared by multiple pages or several different components. So let's say one view is teacher view who is creating the learning content, and other view is student view who see the latest learning content. So the main common thing is the data, which is learning content, which is shared with teacher as well as student. So it will be in a state, and so we'll update as soon as teacher creates new, we'll update the state. Once state is updated, the student will also get automatically updated to see new content.
Okay. So, how do you handle this async calls in React?
Okay, so we are using Redux Thunk to create action creators, and in that we use async await feature.
Okay, async await is more of a JavaScript. So yeah.
And we can also use promises, but a client team is suggested to use async await to have more readable code, as promises end up with like chain-like sequence code. So they didn't like that.
Are you doing any unit testing, automated unit testing? Okay.
Yeah. As of now, we are not, but soon we are going to add JS and enzyme, like unit testing.
Okay. So how was the deployment is
Sorry?
how is the deployment and how frequent it is?
Okay. So deployment is set up with AWS code pipeline. So as soon as we merge our release branch to a certain targeted branches like test, dev, or sandbox, or production like master, it triggers a code pipeline to deploy that code to Amazon S3 bucket, which is yeah, and it's like after almost 2 sprints we release a new version, and that also depends on the business requirements. Sometimes it's more frequent.
Okay. Okay. Then how do you make sure that code doesn't fail in the deployment?
What is the question? How do you make sure?
How do you, as a team lead, so how do you make sure the code doesn't fail in the deployment?
Okay. Yeah, so we rely on code reviews, and we do before like any deployment, we do internal deployment and merging of all pixel benches to a sandbox environment, which is the environment created for backend and UI guys to play with. So before an actual release, we merge that release bench to sandbox and check all things, and also check the code reviews. Yeah.
Fine. With React, are you using the context API?
No, not currently.
Okay, fine, that's fine. So you said in the beginning, right, it's a responsive application.
Yes.
So how do you manage that?
We are writing media queries and using style components.
Okay. So what are the challenges when you support different browsers? With the responsive design, you need to support different browsers as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many browser versions you are supporting, but yeah, keeping that like you want to support IE, Chrome, and Firefox and Safari. So what will be the challenges to implement the responsive design with this code nature? If you're including Edge, not be fine.
Yes. So all these browsers have like different platforms. So some of the CSS properties like native, they introduce their own native CSS properties, as well as how they respond to like standard CSS properties. Some of the standard CSS properties are like in different way. So you need to add like different fixes for different browsers if you want to like have full support for all this.
Okay. So is there any authentication with this application? Like are you following any authentication process for this application? Because let's say even you might have user rights, so user has to go through authentication. What are the authentication processes for?
Yeah, so it's handled by backend. So we have login and create user. So we are using on AWS side, we are using Cognito and AWS identity pool to store user information. And on UI we are having JW token based authentication.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Can you repeat?
Yeah, so on UI side we are storing JW token.
So how do you store it in the front end? Like how do you manage that? So are you using cookies or are you using any web-based storage?
We are storing the token in local storage, and it has an expiry time. So just before it will expire, and if user has some activity, we are calling refresh token API call, with which we get a new token. So we save that new token into our local storage libraries and subsequent all API calls. Sorry, we are sending that token as an authentication data from with headers in the request.
Oh, okay, fine. So with the authentication, so how do you do it in the mobile side? So do you use a similar approach, or you?
Okay, yeah. For now, it's the same. It's a good point. I think we are not thought of using.
Yeah, my question comes in since it's an app, are you have any plan for this progressive web app kind of stuff?
Right now, we have not got any requirement that we need to develop separate mobile app. So it will be web-based application for students only.
Is there any animation kind of stuff or any graphical are you using?
Yes, so we are achieving it through some of the React libraries like React Animate or something. We have some transition going. Yeah.
It's a normal CSS transitions.
Yes, yes.
True. But it also comes with a problem, right? The IE and Edge has a problem with animation, most animations. How do you handle that?
We have not yet got reported such because the React code in React or components in React most often works with IE and Edge.
So, are you using any visualization libraries, or are you using any graphical content like the charts or map kind of stuff?
Yeah, we are using Chart.js.
Oh, okay. So, what kind of charts you are using?
Almost all kind of bar charts, donut charts, then curves, and that's so most of the time I think we are using bar charts. And some of the circle donut kind of chart with color fill.
Okay. So, with React and what are other libraries except for Redux? Do you use any other libraries along with React?
Yes, there are some for purposes of React routing. Then for coding help Lambda to get some more functions on arrays and objects. We are using Lambda. Then there are some other libraries as well, which will one is for media query to just check what is browser resolution and add CSS according to that. Then there are some libraries for pagination. And some libraries for adding custom style scroll bar. Then main library we are using for CSS, it's styled component, so it changes the way we write the CSS. So it's based on latest functions in ES6.
Okay. In React, we have functional and class components, right? So what is the disadvantage of you complete class-based a project? So you have only class components in the entire project. So what will be the difficulties or a disadvantage of that?
Okay. On performance, I don't think as long as you're not writing any unwanted hooks or something in class components, it won't impact much on performance, but conceptually speaking, you don't need to use class component unless you have something to do with state data. Unless you are manipulating data from component, you shouldn't use class component, because class component are meant to use, like, the base is you should start using with functional component, and when there is need arise that you need to like use some of the component hooks, lifecycle hooks, or you need to manipulate data inside the component. Then only you convert that functional component to class-based component.
Okay. So how are this like a HOC, like higher order components, are different from the functional components?
Okay. So higher order components are can have multiple child components in it, and HOCs are actually used to wrap one or more components, but functional components, I think we can pass only one. You will pass one component and it will return a new component. But HOCs won't return a new component, it will just wrap whatever the components inside it. So you can just for the reference, you can have one wrapper component.
Okay. So how about this? Are you using this fragment, React fragment?
React? Sorry, I didn't.
Fragment. Fragment.
Fragment, yes. Yeah.
So, what are the benefit of using it?
Okay. So sometimes you need to wrap two components in React, and you don't want to add any extra div or element. So in such cases, you will wrap that two components in React fragment.